The American presidential election occurs every 4 years, starting with candidates registering with the Federal Election Commission and declaring their intentions to run. This is followed by primary and caucus debates, and then states and parties conduct presidential primaries and caucuses. National conventions are held by political parties to select their presidential candidates. On election day, citizens can vote for members of the Electoral College who, in turn, directly vote for the president and vice president. The formal election of the president and vice president is held through the Electoral College.
The Electoral College is a system established by the U.S. Constitution to elect a vice president and a president. It is possible for one to win the popular vote but lose the election by the Electoral College. The Electoral College has 538 electors, with each state having as many electors as its congressional members, including 3 for Washington, D.C. Each state gets electors based on its congressional delegation, resulting in at least 3 per state. However, because every state has 2 senators regardless of population, representation varies. For instance, an electoral vote in Wyoming represents 193,000 people, while in Texas or California, it represents 700,000 people. Therefore, states with larger populations have more electoral votes. California has 55, and Wyoming has 3.
The Electoral College was initially created simply as a compromise between a popular vote and a governmental one, and further, as a way to prevent foreign interception. However, there's also an underlying reason for this creation, to give power to white people. At the time of the creation of the Electoral College, white people were the only people who were allowed to vote, or the only people whose votes mattered. The system allowed the white population to control its elections and the outcomes. Keeping a system with a corrupt and unequal origin in place is not only questioning the validity of the process itself, but also the stability of it.
The Electoral College determines the president and the vice president. Despite winning the popular vote, a candidate can lose in the Electoral College. This happens because electors are allocated based on congressional representation rather than population, allowing a candidate to secure victory by winning states with the higher electoral votes, even if they lose the popular vote.
In the Electoral College, the influence of a state depends on its population. In the national popular vote, the influence of a state depends on how many people turn out to vote.
This discrepancy between the popular vote and the Electoral College has occurred multiple times in U.S. history.
One more vote than 50% in a particular state, all of those states' electoral votes will go for that candidate, and literally ignoring the other 49.9% of the voters that voted for the other candidate.
Such outcomes can lead to public mistrust in the government. When the popular vote winner loses the election, it can seem unfair and undemocratic. The Electoral College's complexity and voting rules further impact trust. Consequently, nearly 60% of Americans lack confidence in election honesty, and 2/3 believe democracy is threatened, according to Gallup and CBS News polls. This erosion of trust has significant implications for democracy's functioning.
There are ongoing debates about reforming or even abolishing the Electoral College to ensure that the president is elected by a direct popular vote. However, such changes would require a constitutional amendment, which is a lengthy and complex process.
The states the exclusive power to award electoral votes as they see fit. Now, it is true they debated a popular vote and defeated it one day in July.
The process of amending the U.S. Constitution to eliminate the Electoral College involves several steps. First, an amendment must be proposed by either a 2/3 majority in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, or by a constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state legislatures. Once an amendment is proposed, it must be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures or by conventions in 3/4 of the states.
A proposed amendment to abolish the Electoral College would look like this, and would have information including the president and the vice president shall be elected by direct vote of the citizens, with each vote having equal weight. In case of a tie, the House of Representatives would select the president, and the Senate selects the vice president as determined by Congress. Number 1. A simplified voting process. The Electoral College system can be complex and confusing for voters. If it were replaced with a direct popular vote, the process would be simplified, and each citizen's vote would count equally, regardless of their state. Number 2. Faster election results. With a direct popular vote, the counting process could potentially be faster and more straightforward, as it would not involve the allocation and counting of electoral votes. Number 3. The elimination of swing state focus. Currently, presidential campaigns tend to focus heavily on swing states due to their potential to tip the balance in the Electoral College. Eliminating the Electoral College would encourage candidates to campaign more broadly, as every vote would matter equally.
Switching from the Electoral College to a popular vote system for presidential elections could bolster public trust in government and enhance efficiency. Firstly, it would ensure that the candidate who receives the most individual votes nationwide wins, aligning more closely with the democratic principles and reducing the chances of a candidate winning despite losing the popular vote.
This transparency and fairness could boost confidence in the electoral process and government. Eliminating electoral college complexities, such as winner-takes-all systems, would improve engagement. This simplification ensures elected officials enhance government efficiency and better reflect the people's will.